Hey neighbor, welcome back to ARTV. I'm John, and the curious cat in me has always wondered something when it comes to exclusive music releases overseas, even in the streaming era. Why does Japan get all the cool bonus tracks even when the majority of the acts releasing Japanese exclusives are from the United States or the United Kingdom? Honestly, this is something I've thought about for years at this point, so I'm dragging you down the rabbit hole with me. It's time to explore the world of exclusive music and why those releases have been so important to the infrastructure of the musical ecosystem in Japan for decades now. Foo Fighters, Coldplay, Charlie XCX, Blink-182, Halsey, Muse, Fiddler, Arctic Monkeys, Korn, Daft Punk, Vampire Weekend, Weezer, Rise Against. Did you hear your favorite band or artist during roll call? Those are just a handful of the hundreds of artists who have extended some form of exclusive music to our overseas friends. Say the standard version of the latest record from your favorite artist has 12 songs, but you Google the track list out of morbid curiosity only to find that there's a Japanese exclusive version of the physical album with 15 songs. Doesn't feel fair, does it? I know I've kicked myself countless times for essentially sitting on my thumbs not knowing that some of these absolute diamonds existed, but fortunately thanks to YouTube and other less than reputable online tactics, we can get our ears on those rare gems with just a few clicks of the mouse. Let's trace it back to the 1980s and even the early 90s in the Japanese music scene. American artists were winning over fans in the country at an alarming rate, with former Japan Times employee Johnny Thompson revealing information about the gap in domestic music purchases from actual Japanese artists versus music from other markets worldwide. In the 90s, we may have been looking at a 75% domestic to 25% international split, but the former label exec now believes that the split is closer to 90% domestic, 10% international, which essentially means that worldwide acts aren't hitting it big in Japan. Not like they used to, at least. The emphasis in the industry has shifted to heavily favor acts from their home country, but that's not to say that artists like Avril Lavigne, Jackie Vincent, Taylor Swift, Cheap Trick, Bruno Mars, Carly Rae Jepsen, or Coldplay haven't seen immense success there in recent years. Exclusives in music aren't exclusive to Japan. I'm sorry, I hate myself and couldn't resist, and many albums released throughout the past few decades have even varied in their track list depending on the country it was being released in. The Beatles, The Clash, Mariana's Trench, and many others have had their album track list altered for different countries, but the Japanese bonus track situation is much more unique. Fans there might be getting a version of an album that no one else in the world can get unless they pay insanely high shipping costs. But the main reason the extra tracks are there in the first place is due to the insanely high cost of CDs. Okay, maybe insanely high is a stretch, but it's true. CDs are what, about 10 to 13 bucks from an artist web store, Best Buy, Target, or Amazon, right? Well, a physical copy of an album is going to set you back roughly double that amount in Japan. That's right, 2,500 to 3,000 yen on average, which translates to the consumer dropping between $23 to $30 on a disc and a plastic sleeve. A good friend of mine recently spent some time in Japan, and I had him check for me in person if CDs were really selling for prices that high. From what he reported back, yes. Everything he found from American artists was between 2,000 and 3,500 yen, which is definitely more out of pocket than most of us are probably used to in other countries. It's starting to make more sense now, isn't it? And I'm sure there's a slew of light bulbs going off in all of your heads right now, but just in case they're not, it basically means that because an album costs more money in Japan, international artists need to give their fans that extra incentive to buy the album. Load up some exclusive tracks that no one else can get, finish up some demos that were perhaps left on the cutting room floor, package it with love, and voila! The average consumer is way more likely to feel better about biting the bullet and throwing money at this new CD. My younger viewers are probably rolling their eyes and thinking, CDs? Who the hell is still buying CDs or physical copies of music at all? Number one, music markets vary from country to country, so check your privilege as streaming fanatic. And number two, CDs are actually a fantastic way to experience music because their audio quality is so high. In fact, Japan made a name for themselves in the 1980s by producing high-quality vinyl that many collectors worldwide would pay top dollar for, and that translated to the CD business years later as well. Is the top-notch quality still something Japan are known for? Sort of, but it's like kinda dwindled like the CD business in general, as even though vinyl and cassette sales oddly have rebounded wildly during the 2010s, but maybe their emphasis at this point is just on having a wide range of physical product available, much of which is exclusive to their country. There's a lot of weird laws that I don't fully understand regarding the import and export of physical music there, which only further complicates our story. After translating several articles and giving it my best shot in the research department when it came to these laws, I stumbled onto a 2005 ban that outlawed retailers from importing Japanese artists' foreign-selling CDs, or, to put it simply, CDs by Japanese artists made for other Asian markets. With all of these elements at play, American and other international labels that want to break into the coveted Japanese market have to work smarter and harder to get their foot in the door when it seems like Japan is intentionally shutting the door in their face. It can be really difficult for smaller or independent labels to get physical copies of their music to Japan in the first place, so it again falls back on the bonus track to help sell units, even digitally, as the extra tracks can make it worth everyone's while to actually ship internationally. I talked with former Falling in Reverse and current I Don't Know How But They Found Me drummer Ryan Seaman in the fall of 2018, and after our interview, Ryan went on to tell me a bit about his former bandmate Jackie Vincent's odd surge in popularity in Japan. There were posters of him in record stores, tons of screaming fans, way more than he had in the United States, to paraphrase the drummer's comments. This really got me intrigued even further about the way music was pushed in Japan, and became a big motivation for me finally making this video a reality. Japan is home to a huge population of over 120 million people, although that number is steadily declining, but there's a higher likelihood of selling more records with there being that massive amount of potential fans. If there's an extra song or even 2 or 3 that's exclusive to Japan, it becomes more attractive to someone wanting to purchase an album in their home country instead of importing it from the States, or even, dare I say it, pirating music online instead. Let's be honest, we've all used a YouTube to MP3 converter to get some of those songs that aren't on Spotify or Apple Music, and who can really blame us, especially for some of these incredible Japanese bonus tracks. I'm linking a YouTube playlist in the video description and the pinned comment with some of my all-time favorite hidden gems, so feel free to check that out after the video. The bonus track is still an exciting feature all these years later, even if it's not as huge of a draw as it was in, say, the 90s or the 2000s. For international listeners, it can be like discovering a hidden gold mine if you've only listened to the standard version that's available in your country. To continue showing Japanese fans the love they deserve in exchange for their loyal support, many of these international artists make talk show performance appearances on late night TV in Japan, or just include the country in general on their tour stops. I really admire the dedication of Japanese fans who always seem to give it their all when international bands come through. They know every single word of the song, even though some don't fully speak the language, and they give up massive amounts of praise and adoration for the artist willing to play shows for them, which would also explain why so many groups will name-check Japanese concerts as their favorites of all time to play. What do you think of Japanese exclusives? Does it make you red with jealous rage knowing that you can't have it on your favorite streaming service of choice? Or are you content with browsing YouTube and subreddits to find a high-quality copy of these coveted bonus tracks? Comment below and let me know, and don't forget to check out that playlist I put together while you're at it. And bonus points, if you yourself are Japanese or have lived in Japan, I'd love to know what you think about this topic too. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with me. I hope you enjoyed this. More musical explorations coming in the near future. If you happen to be new to the channel, then please hit that subscribe button and like the video if you enjoyed what you saw, and perhaps even learned something today. Thank you again to Hannah for her amazing editing work on this video, and also a shout out goes out to my $50 patrons like Brandon Barenfeld, ThreeAreEss, Seth Koppisch, The Gameshed, ILuvMetal, and Caitlin Vernon. Thank you so much to everybody for your support, and I'll see you soon for more right here on ARTV.